Okay, welcome all members and guests to the January 9th. Is that just me? No, it's pretty echoey. Is IT still up here?
Yeah, I just sent him a message.
Sorry, we'll begin in just 1 minute. The microphones are pretty echoey. Test, test. Is that better? Still doesn't, no, it's not right. Yeah, it sounds like there's a second source or something. Test, test. A little better? Okay, let's try. Welcome all members and guests to the January 9th, 2024 Public Hearing Committee meeting. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome back. I'd like to remind everyone that our meetings are web streamed and televised, so if you could take a moment and please ensure that your phones are on silent, that would be appreciated. For anyone attending virtually, please mute yourself when not speaking. When called upon to speak, please turn your camera on and unmute yourself. And for staff in attendance, please use the Microsoft Teams hand raise feature icon and remove it when you have finished speaking. And with that, I will call the January 9th, 2024 Public Hearing Committee meeting to order. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest today? Okay, seeing none, I'm looking for a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Michelle, seconded by Councillor Vanadrischi. All in favor? That is carried unanimously. I now officially open the public meeting held under the Municipal Act, the Planning Act, and Norfolk County policies. Please be advised that to preserve your right to appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal, you are required to make comments or provide written passage prior to the passing of a bylaw. These meetings are to allow the public to provide initial comments on the presented planning matters. And with that, we have item 4.1 on the agenda. It is 19th North Street, Cortland, CD 24002, Mr. Sloan.
Thank you and good afternoon. So to introduce this redevelopment proposal in Cortland, we'll turn it over to Fabian.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. I have prepared the following information report before you. The application was submitted by Arcadis on behalf of the property owner. So the application is for a zoning bylaw amendment for 19 North Street in Cortland. Can you go to the next slide, please? And the purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment is to facilitate the development of 24 semi-detached residential units. So the zoning bylaw amendment that is being proposed is to essentially change the zoning on the subject lands from general industrial to urban residential type 2. So the zoning amendment would allow the use of a semi-detached dwelling as a permitted use and to establish specific zone provisions for lot area, frontage, and side yard setbacks. In terms of the proposal as a whole, the proposed units are to be connected to municipal water services. The proposed units are to be connected to municipal water services that are available for the subject lands, and that the proposed development would be partially serviced. So each lot would have an on-site septic tank to provide private waste and wastewater services. So due to the servicing constraints in Cortland and the proposed servicing for the development, staff are of the opinion that the proposed zoning should be hamlet residential. It would be more suitable for the subject lands. And as a result, the property would then be zoned hamlet residential with special provisions to permit the use of a semi-detached building or dwellings and to accommodate the relief that's required that would be similar to the R2 zone. So as opposed to applying the R2 zoning, we would be applying R2 provisions instead of the hamlet residential provisions. So a little bit about the site and context. So it's currently zoned it's currently designated urban residential in the Norfolk County official plan, and it's zoned general industrial in the zoning bylaw. The site consists of 1.6 hectares or just under 4 acres in size. And the property does not consist of the antique market. It was previously an agri-industrial operation, and all buildings, infrastructure, and services in regards to the previous use of the property have been removed, and the subject lands are currently vacant. Next slide, please. Can you go to the next slide, please? So as part of a complete application, there were several documents that were submitted that included sorry, can you go to the next slide? Apologies. So as part of a complete application, the applicant submitted a plan justification report, a traffic impact brief, a geotechnical report, a functional servicing report, a record of site condition, and a site plan drawing. Within the planning justification report, the applicant also conducted a D6 series guideline analysis that was conducted. And so the study looked at 2 properties, and those were specifically 4 North Street and 1 North Street. So 4 North Street was the Cortland Vinyl Windows, and 1 North Street was Cortland Collectibles. And both of these properties were classified as a Class 1 facility under the D6 series guideline, and therefore it was identified that further analysis was not required. So in regards to this application, there have been public comments that have been received from members of the public. Unfortunately, due to the timing of us receiving the comments, they didn't make it into the agenda, or sorry, into the package, but I printed off all the public comments that we've received to this date, and I provided them paper copies there. And so we've received a few questions. So there's in total 6 questions at this point in time, and we can go through them. So essentially, what is happening with the open Purdue drain that is on the north side of the tracks and is an open north side of the tracks, and it's an open drain, which we all just paid for it to have cleaned out. So I've shared all these questions with the applicant as well, for not just the applicant, the agent as well, for assistance in responding. They've also indicated that the open drain west of the subject property is being relocated further west within other lands owned by the applicant, and the details of the relocation are described in the FSR as shown. Soak away pits are proposed to reduce the runoff from the development below the pre-development runoff rates. The FSR report concludes that based on their modeling, the proposed development can meet its own stormwater management controls within the property, reducing the impact of the site to the existing drainage system. The second question was, where are they going to put their septic tanks and weeping beds? So the septic tanks are proposed to be located in the rear yards of the properties. And in terms of the closure of the tracks from Highway 59 to Talbot Street, the applicant has indicated that the applicant actually owns the rail lands and that they are not a part of this application. However, staff are working with CN Rail to obtain comments to essentially ensure that that is the case. In regards to the closure of South Street and the allocation of land, so it's the closure of South Street. So it's included, staff met with Realty Services, and we're under the understanding that the South Street closure was included within the deeds that was previously passed in the 90s. And in terms of the impacts of the closure of South Street on the proposed development, staff aren't anticipating impacts from the closure of South Street onto the proposed development. The last 2 questions were, how will drainage of the property be addressed, and how will septic needs be met with limited frontage? So the FSR and the engineering plans outline essentially drainage and how that will be addressed for the project, and septic needs be met with limited frontage. So the applicant has indicated that the septic systems are proposed for the rear yards and that it shouldn't necessarily be an issue as a result of the limited frontage. In addition to that, staff have also received comments from CN Rail actually this morning. So to summarize their comments, they've provided quite an extensive list of comments and potential conditions that they would like imposed if the project was to be approved. But to summarize the comments, CN anticipates the opportunity to review a noise and vibration study and a stormwater management report taking into consideration the CN development guidelines. These comments have all been shared with the applicant and the agent on the project, so they are aware of this. Staff have also received a letter of support from a member of the public, and that's also been printed off and included in the package for you as well. I'm available to answer any questions, and I believe the agent is also available online to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Fabian. So we don't have anyone registered to speak, but I see there's a hand up online. Carmen?
Good afternoon, and through you, Madam Chair, thank you for having this meeting and giving me the opportunity to speak. Just for point of clarification, and I apologize for the error in my email to Mr. Sarah. The applicant does not own the rail. It was the typo on my part was it should have said not instead of now. So I just wanted that point of clarification. We will be reaching out to CN Proximity just to continue to speak about the CN rail, but it is our understanding through our discussions with them for the past several years that these lands are, this portion of the rail is abandoned and will no longer be used. And that was confirmed through Arid and Barrelist discussions, which is their lawyer, and we'll be continuing our conversations with the proximity group. So I just wanted the committee to be aware of that typo, apologize for my mistake, which is actually quite a substantial mistake, but make that clarification. Thank you.
And Carmen, you're the agent for the file?
Yes, thank you. Sorry. My name is Carmen Jandu. I am the agent for the applicant, and I'm with Arcadist.
Thank you very much. So with that being said, would a committee like to ask questions of staff, or would you like to invite members up who might? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Columbus, then Van and Drishi.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And my question is to the planner with respect to the property was zoned ag industrial, and was it a potential brownfield ever? And if so, how would that affect the development charges?
Maybe to assist through committee. So this is a former industrial site. It looks like the applicant has provided a record of site condition. We do not have an application for any brownfield incentive at this time, but that's something that staff would monitor as to whether or not there is the potential for that. But at this point in time, we have not received one.
Thank you, Brandon.
Councillor Van and Drishi.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. Having seen the site, the depth from the road to where the site is and the depth to where the railway track is, does anyone know what the depth is? Because I can see it in the diagram, I just don't know what the actual depth is. Do you, is that?
Just to clarify, you mean the depth from the rear lot line to the track?
Well, from the frontage to the track, like the road is there, there's a road, then the field starts, it's long, and then the track is behind it. The depth in itself, what is the depth there?
Through
I can't see it anywhere.
through the council, I believe it is between 24 to 26 meters, but I would also suggest the applicant confirm that.
Okay, and my only concern, of course, was the railway track. At the end of the day, we need to know what's going to happen with the railway track. So that's an important issue as far as I'm concerned. Okay, thank you.
Counselor Brunton, and then I'll come back to you, Carmen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I didn't quite get did the agent say that the railway is or isn't owned by it isn't. So at the start, then, you said the drain was cleaned just previous as a municipal drain, I take. So were the CN, they would not, or they are assessed under that? They are not assessed? Are they in the catchment area, do you know, or does somebody?
Sorry, can we let staff answer on the microphone so everyone can hear and it's recorded, please?
Through Madam Mayor, to the councillor, there is an existing drainage on the site,
I realize that.
and it is within the drainage watershed area. So we did not receive LPSA comments yet, but when we'll get the comments, then we'll have a better understanding what will be the impact, and also through the engineering comments, what needs to be done.
Well, I guess my question is, when you said that CN had a lot of questions, correct, in your report, but if they're not part of this drain in any way, would they not have any comments? They wouldn't. Why would they comment? They're not.
So through Madam Mayor, CN provided various comments. Yes, a part of it is stormwater management. Generally, as part of the review process, they want to see stormwater management report to understand if there is an impact of the development to their area. So, I mean, they asked for that report, so we don't know yet what comments they will have, but I'm sure that the applicant will provide that to them.
Okay, it sounds confusing to me, the way you said they do not own the land. Am I correct?
The track is still CN track. The ownership of the land may not be CN's, but the track is CN track.
I'll wait and see what comes out of it, I guess. I just, it's confusing. You say they don't own the land, but they own the tracks?
Well, the ownership is information provided by the applicant, so I defer that to the applicant to explain the ownership part. But as the track is CN track, we, as part of the process, we sent it to them for comments, and that's the comments we received from CN.
Okay, before I go back over to Carmen, is there any other questions from committee? Carmen, did you want to clarify something, or do you want to speak to the report?
I just wanted to provide an answer through your Madam Chair to Councillor Vanderducci just about the depth of the lot. It's shown on our plans that was submitted that the depth of the lot is about 29.83 on average across the site. And we're proposing frontages of 0.45 and rear yards that would be able to accommodate the septic system. And with respect, and I didn't know through you, Madam Chair, if you would like us to clarify the ownership of the track.
Sure, if you'd like.
Absolutely. The tracks are owned by CN Rail at this time. They've identified a need to abandon the tracks as they're not using it, and the tracks to the east of this site have now been removed. But they also have made a lease. They had also discussed a lease with Geo Rail, which is a local operator who we've also been in contact with, and they've identified that they're not going to be using this section of the track either. Their lease for the track is for a larger length, and their operation is mainly to the west of this. So again, it just supports the need to abandon this portion of the track.
Okay, thanks for those comments, Councillor Michelli.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess now I have the same question as Councillor Brunton. Who owns the land that the tracks are currently on?
Through the chair, I believe the agent has indicated that they do not own the tracks, and ultimately will wait from CN to ultimately provide the final comments.
The agent's nodding her head yes, so we're going to leave it at that until we have other comments. Okay, does anyone, Councillor Van Passen?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't know if it's the right time to bring it up, but we've had discussion about the use of the rail line for 2 years. We're waiting for staff to come back with a report at some point so that council can support closing a portion of that line. Geo Rail has recently opened it. It runs from St. Thomas, where they are picking up stuff, but they can never see a need for going beyond Cortland. And they've been waiting patiently for a letter from the county supporting their closure of it at some area, whether that be 59 Highway, whether that be Talbot Road, whether it be out in the middle of nowhere. But maybe at some point we could make a decision on that and send them a letter. The timing seems right now because it would allow CN to officially close it from 59 Highway, and it would make development for residential a lot simpler if there's no rail line active behind your new house. So I just wonder if we could slip that little comment to our staff and maybe move forward on that item as well.
I see nodding heads. Councillor Brunton?
Just on that issue, and I asked that question at the start here a few minutes ago. We had a drain we cleaned out, and I don't think I really got the answer as to whether the railway were assessed. And you all know the problem we're having when we assess railways. They don't want to pay. And my concern is before we close their railway, let's make sure they pay their bill if they're assessed.
Okay,
That's
so
all I'm
what we
saying.
need to do is add this to another agenda for another discussion and get back to the public meeting. So then you were nodding your head to Councillor Van Passen before. Please don't do anything until we have a further discussion so Councillor Brunton can bring up his point. Good. Back to the planning file. I'm going to open it up to anyone here in the room that wishes to speak. You can come on up to the podium. We'll give you a couple minutes to chat with us, and we'd ask that you state your name for the public record. There's a button on the microphone. You can come on up and push. You can hit the button on the right-hand side and it'll turn the microphone on red. And then you can just state your name, please.
Hi there. My name is Amanda Belor. I think that you discussed some of the questions that I had about the drainage and whatnot. We do worry about how you will access the open drain on North Street to maintain it. They just did it, I think, last year, and it does need to be done regularly. So we are concerned that if you put properties there, how will you maintain cleaning that drain? Secondly, on the first letter that was mailed to us, it says that South Street is closed. I have documentation here from lawyers proving that South Street, as of 2002, is still open. South Street has never been closed. Even though there was no access to it, the 2 lanes on the east sides of lots 11 and 22 were what was the access to South Street, and they were closed, but South Street was never closed. I have that if you would like that. I can give it to whoever. And besides that, the map also indicates on a map that I have that there are airlines on both sides of the tracks. Those airlines would be for the railway to maintain whatever it is that they need to maintain down the tracks. Is the airline being sold with the property on North Street? Also, if they're selling the airline with that, that would be the depth that they need to put their septic systems in. I'm wondering if they're going to, I live on Adams Street, which is on the south side of the tracks. Are they going to allow us the land, the airline on the south side of the tracks? That's pretty much all I want to know. I'm just wondering who I can hand this to.
We can take a copy through, or maybe someone through clerks, and we'll give you your original.
You can actually keep those copies if you'd like.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Maybe to keep this a little bit easy, does staff or the agent have any response to those up front? It's okay if you don't.
Yeah, so through you, Madam Mayor, staff are going to have to take that back to work and have our internal discussions. As I alluded to, we met with Realty Services this morning, but we didn't have the opportunity to do a full dive into the closure of South Street other than seeing that it was on our end, it indicates that it was the deeds were closed in the 90s. So I'll take that discussion offline with our realty staff and Amanda to see if we can come up with a response to her question on that now.
That's fine. And then just so everyone knows, we will have another staff report where we'll make a decision, and that's not happening today. So we'll be able to answer as many questions as we possibly can at that time. Does anyone else wish to come up and speak? Come on up to the podium, please. State your name on the public record.
There we go. I am Justin Crandall. Just out of curiosity, the depth of the lot at the west end, between the train tracks and the road, they're saying it's approximately 90 feet. Where that is from the edge of road to possibly the drainage ditch. That being said, is there any planning that's been shown for depth of house, depth of driveway? I know they want to change the front yard setback. If that's being done, how close is the front of the structure to the road? And how much clearance is needed for a septic tank and tile bed in the rear to maintain distance from the drainage ditch to that weeping bed? The other thing is stormwater management. It's a very wet area at times of the year, depending on when they did certain testing. It could show very dry. Heavy rain like today, it's very wet. If they build that up, where's that water going? That's pretty much all my concerns.
No, okay, that's great. Thanks. I think that staff probably can provide answers for you on some of the depth that would be identified, but anyone else wanting to speak? Okay, is there anyone on the line that wishes to speak? Not seeing any. Fabian, do you want to provide answer? Do you have that information handy, or do you want to put it in the report for later?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm going to be putting that in the
Perfect.
recommendation report.
Okay, so we will answer your questions in our follow-up staff report when it comes back to council. Thank you for coming today. I'm not seeing anyone on the line, so I'm looking for a mover and a seconder for the staff. Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, I still have some questions. So we're looking at 24 units and it works out to, according to my calculations, 0.16 of an acre for each lot. Is that right? 0.16 acre?
So through you, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, it sounds incorrect. So it's supposed to be 24 semi-detached units. So I believe in their bylaw, they're proposing a total of a lot area of 447 square meters. So that would be more in line of the lot size there.
Okay, and do you feel that that's adequate for a septic bed?
Through the chair, my opinion ultimately comes down to the determination of the studies, and they did a geotechnical study, and it did indicate that the size of the lot is adequate and can maintain the septic system. So by that merit, yes, I do believe it could.
Okay, thank you. And about fire flow capacity in Cortland, do you feel we have enough fire flow capacity?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that's an engineering question.
Okay.
Through the chair, Tim is on the line as well. He can chime in as required. I mean, I know we are still reviewing the information here. The infrastructure in Cortland itself is quite new. Looking at the layout of all the pipes in the ground there, relatively new PVC that's adequately sized. So we do have decent fire flow characteristics in Cortland. But I know Tim also had some comments as it related to the fire underwriter survey and some of the options that were brought forward. So I don't know if he wants to chime in with anything additional.
Well, we've just started the preliminary review of the engineered documents that have been provided. We have been looking at some of the existing modeling. I would say at this time, we're going to have to be prudent in our review. It's very close to being the hydrant system providing the required fire flow, but I also noticed that they included some documentation from the FUS people indicating tanker service. I'm not sure how necessarily that would apply within the municipal areas, as we typically require fire flows to be provided from our municipal system.
Thank you for that. My last question, will probably the consultant, will these be 2-story units or just 1 story? Being the lot size is kind of the small size.
Thank you for the question, and through you, Madam Chair. The sizes of the units are going to be indicative of the septic system capabilities as well. At this time, we're looking at 1-story units, and those are going to be, again, the have to be supported by the size of the septic system, so not 2-story.
Thank you.
Any other questions from committee? Councillor Van Andrieschie.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. This is just for my own personal reference then. If we look at the North Street and the houses that are on the opposite side, are they on septic? Yeah, so they are on septic as well. So okay, I'm getting that from the audience because they live there. Okay, thank you.
Okay, with that, I'm looking for a mover and a seconder for staff's recommendation to be received as information, moved by Councillor Duthie, seconded by Councillor Huffman. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. And it is 3:31. That was the only item on our public hearing agenda. So we will recess public hearings, give IT 5 minutes to switch over to our special council meeting. So motion to adjourn at 3:32 p.m. moved by Councillor Huffman, seconded by Councillor Michelle. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you.